and welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to Lokvani, Pallavi Wagh.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranjini ji.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us all the way from Chicago. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. And for our viewers, Pallavi is the founder of Passionate Art, which is her attempt at helping others to discover their love for art. She believes that there is no age for learning. She claims she's not a born artist and she discovered her passion and talent for art over a period of time. Her profession was in interior design and she started painting as a hobby and soon discovered that art took her into a totally different world that was surely magical. Today, she is a very, very busy artist who paints, who has a lot of exhibitions, and also a very extensive student base to whom she teaches art. So, Pallavi ji, Passionate Art. What a beautiful name. How did you come up with that name?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Firstly, I would like to thank Ekal. You guys are doing excellent work, all the volunteers, Ranjini ji, yourself, Jarna ji, and the whole team. I would really thank you guys to give me this opportunity. So going with your question, I would like to associate a story with this. When I'd totally forgotten that I paint, and I had mentioned about my art to a friend, and he approached and said, would you do a painting of the Rath from Mahabharata? And I was a little nervous and anxious at the same time, but excited more than anything. And I grabbed that opportunity and I made a huge painting. That ignited my passion. And since then, I have not stopped. I used to look for some or the other painting to take the brush, take the pencil, sketch, draw, to continuously do something. Even if I'm talking on the phone, I'll be doodling. So, that thing came up and I do a workshop just for fun. And I saw the passion. I saw the passion with kids, the teacher and the whole flow. And that's how we came up with an proper app name for Passionate Art for the studio.
Wow, what a story that is. That is really a wonderful, wonderful story. So actually, I took the liberty of taking that painting and making it my backdrop.
It's
For
looking
today.
beautiful.
I was
Thank you.
I was very impressed with the painting, and it always makes me wonder when I look at a painting like this, right? This painting has probably been painted by thousands of other people. This painting is something that is a picture in millions of people's mind. Those who have read the Mahabharata, they have their vision of what this scene must have been in Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. So how does an artist like you make it their own and put their stamp of individuality on a picture that is pretty popularly, in everybody's mind?
So true, so true. And there's also this pressure to get life in Arjun and Krishna and the horses. So my main thing for this specific topic was in my mind was to get the speed that they are on a war. They're going for a war. The horses and they're angry, and to, show the soil and the mud, coming up. If you even notice, the sky is not calm. You see there's things happening in the sky,
Yeah,
the clouds and the wind blowing, and there's so much, things happening. So that was my main part to show in this picture, to get the feel of war.
Fantastic.
That's how I related.
Actually, when I listen to you, I feel a lot of energy in you, and perhaps that just brought it out on the brush. That was very interesting to hear, that when you're thinking about a painting, not of a still object, but of something that's moving.
Absolutely.
So how does that differ when you think about, people often start with painting an apple that's on a on a plate versus doing something so dynamic?
Yes.
Or do you think every piece is dynamic, given that life itself is dynamic?
So yes, each piece, even a still life piece, when we paint, we connect with it. Even if it's an apple, there's a story. I feel there's a story behind every painting, and my students would agree with this, because there is so much thought process an artist goes through beyond just getting that piece ready on the paper. There's so much study going on, maybe a motion picture, maybe a still art, maybe like a landscape, flowers. Even in flowers, we show the movement with the wind and the petals going. So that's how the artist connects, and there's lots behind it, which students learn, I feel, while doing it. Yeah, the
So
light
like,
source, the light shadow, lot of things going on.
boy, that's complicated. And actually that's interesting because you said even though you didn't learn art, but I know that you have been trained as an interior designer. There's a lot of intersection between, when I think of interior design, I think of art, so I suspect there's a lot of intersection. So where do they differ? Where do they come together?
Yes. I am also a BCom graduate, which
Oh.
is not related, but I am
Very important to
very
manage
important.
money
I'm
in
a big,
life.
absolutely.
Ekal could
So
not
true.
run without money. So we are
So
all about
true.
money.
Yes. So it does connect at some level. Anything. It's not just art, interior designing. It's also fashion designing, web designing, any artistic, even music. I would say there is a third dimension to it, which goes beyond in the artist's mind or a designer's mind. When it comes to the decoration part, we use T-squared set squares and do very straight lines and like, AutoCAD and stuff like that for the drawing part. But there is like a third part to it, third dimension is the feel part. When you enter a room, whether it has to be cozy, whether it should reflect the personality of the owner, right from colors to the positioning, proportions, carpet, lights, everything. Just like that in art, if I do something and my students do something, or any other artist does the same, they will have their personality and touch and brush strokes to it. So I think it's definitely related. There is an X factor to it, which pulls the passion and the design part in both interior designing and art.
Art. But
So
it's
it does.
interesting. So you said that you have never studied art formally, and yet you're teaching art. So what do you think is the value of teaching art or learning art, like as opposed to being like you, who just picked it up and started painting?
So if you are given an opportunity to learn, definitely grab it. But not necessary. There is a time and place in everybody's life to or to get that formal education. As I said, I was into BCom and interior designing. My focus was that this was just a hobby, and my mom had registered me in a class which I was not very fond of, but I went there and it turned my life. It just developed my art. I never stopped after that. So
Learning
I
techniques is
realized,
useful, you would say. Learning art techniques
definitely,
so
but
that you can.
my point behind saying this is, even if there is no formal education, nothing should stop you. There are different ways of learning. You can learn by looking, you can learn by listening, you can learn by reading, you can learn by practicing. So there is no need to be really having a formal education. I would have loved if I had. I think that would have given me more base. But I am a self-taught after a certain point, and I'm still learning every day, still learning from my students from everywhere. So that it keeps going on. So definitely, if an opportunity comes to, learn formally, grab it. If not, there's no reason to stop. I believe.
Fantastic. So I guess
Yeah.
it's not about getting a degree or going to, but
Absolutely not.
as you are learning every single moment and you can learn in multiple ways. So
Yes.
wonderful point that you
Each
bring
day
up.
has to be better, I feel.
Absolutely. That is really a
So you are
fantastic.
your own competitor.
I like that. I like that very much. So I know that you seem to be painting a variety of pieces or variety of styles. How would you describe it? And do you have a style that you would like to talk about?
Yes, I do not like sticking to one simple, because I like change. It keeps me going, and it keeps me interested. I love painting horses. I love painting flowers. Love painting sceneries. I love painting. So I would like to talk about a piece which I recently, a couple years back, I did was Ganesha. with finger painting, and it's a huge painting I commissioned for a friend, and it's sitting on her fireplace above on the mantle, and it's beautiful. So this is something new variety I tried doing, and it just clicked. And
So it's
yeah,
about just using your fingers and painting a
yes, no
large.
brush. I just wore gloves, and it's very free flowing. It's very free flowing. If you guys can get a chance to see it, it has not a single place is like flat painted. It has texture on it. So I love texture too. So
I've
try
seen
doing
everything
that.
about you is flowing, right? It's
Like
never,
yes,
uh,
yes.
that seems to be common to all your paintings. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I wanted to say again that how grateful we are at Ekal that you have decided to become an Indie Art Ambassador.
Yo,
We
thank you.
really, for those of
Absolutely.
our viewers who may not know Ekal, we are an organization that brings education to over 100,000 rural remote villages where we teach 2.8 million children. We bring basic literacy to them. And Indie Art is an art competition that children in the US, anybody in the US, not children alone, 5 and up, 99 and up can participate so that they use their time creatively during these very special moments while also helping bring digital literacy to the villages. So I was very intrigued actually when I saw some of the pieces you sent. One of them was a portrait of Yash Desai, who
Yes.
happens to be the regional vice president for the Midwest region for Ekal. Could you tell us how that came to be and how you're interested in portraits? I always wonder what's the difference between a portrait and a photograph, and what's the value of a portrait in these days of photography?
Portrait is very unique. It's not a very common thing seen around. It's getting popular. I would say I would really like if it gets even further popular. I just enjoy doing it. Jaiji approached about giving a surprise for their anniversary to Yashi, and she had no idea. It's a beautiful, full-size standing portrait of both of them with her beautiful sari, with a lot of work, and his suit, and with pleats on his pants. And getting it was, I work day and night when I work on portraits. I forget what's happening in the family. I forget kids. I go in a different world. Yes, and that's my favorite thing to do is portraits.
Oh,
Yes, and it's very realistic. So if you look at, that's my aim at least to get
yeah,
it realistic. And
that's
she was pretty surprised. It's like nicely displayed in their house on
sure.
the wall. Yeah.
That is really really fantastic. And so now I'd like to ask you, what motivates you to associate with Ekal, and why did you decide to become an Indie Art Ambassador?
Oh, Ekal itself is like doing such a great job. So many volunteers working with their heart in there, and it's amazing. So I'm just like a small, tiny drop. Whatever I can do, I absolutely do not leave a single opportunity to volunteer whenever as in my capacity to do. I give my time, and I'm trying to do it more going ahead. So absolutely, this is an honor to be associated with Ekal, and this is absolutely for a wonderful cause. And I hope that this really goes successful big time, and each student in India gets a tablet or a device where their education shouldn't stop. I feel,
I think that's right.
it's such a small fee for us to participate in this
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
contest, and it's a wonderful opportunity for our kids to learn the pleasure of giving.
yeah. Yeah, beautiful to learn the pleasure of giving. And also they are going to, I think you're offering a workshop. Am I right
Yes,
about
I
the art
am.
action?
I
So
am.
they're
I
going
am.
to learn art as well. So tell us more about what people can expect in your workshop.
I still have to come up, I'll be honest with you, about the painting thing, but I will be doing something very interesting,
Sure.
mostly acrylic painting, which,
Wow.
yeah, or maybe coffee painting, something which most of the people will have at home and they can utilize
Yeah. So
and
instead of
maximum
drinking
participation.
coffee, So instead of drinking
Yes.
coffee, let's paint it, right? It's better for your health,
Yes,
probably.
yes, it's a beautiful art. In lockdown, I did 2 workshops in between for
Oh,
Mother's Day and Father's Day, and it was
ah,
such a success because people do not have to step out to buy, paint.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody has coffee at home. Everybody. If not you, your neighbors are going to have borrow it, and then make it happen. And it's such a wonderful thing when you paint. I feel when you paint, you go in a different world.
Mm.
Everybody should experience it, and then I feel it doesn't have to be a wow painting. It's the journey. It's the journey of learning. It's the journey of creating each individual. I make so many mistakes. I tell my students, go in my cabin and see. There are so many failed projects. You
So,
never learn
can you
without
tell
hitting.
me what is a failed project? I mean, I don't know what's
So,
failure in art.
so when you have uh, an aim that I want my sunset project to be with nice blending and with a certain shaped birds flying. If there are wrong strokes, it does.
Uh,
That's when an artist feels this is not as per my expectations. And I'm teaching my students, you know what, we are humans, we are going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes.
yeah.
So that's how you learn.
Done. It's interesting because here the failure is not judged by somebody else because you are presenting your finished project. So
Yes,
you are your own
self-approved.
Sakshi. Your conscience
Yes,
is telling me whether you're passing or failing. And perhaps that is the greatest learning that anybody can have, that your grades don't come from outside, but from inside. So
inside,
I,
absolutely well said.
I'm impressed with that point. And so perhaps that's the advice you would give. I always ask, what do seasoned artists give advice to those that are starting out, in the art career? What should they be thinking about?
So for people who start out, I would say just believe in yourself, believe in your talent, and take the step ahead. It's okay if there is a failure. Keep trying. There will be you. Some people have to try 4 times, some people have to try 10 times, some people have to try 100 times. And that's true with anything, I feel, in life, right? From like simple cooking skills to having an art piece, or even driving skills. My son is learning driving. So it might be anything. It could be a math problem. So you have to keep trying and you have to make it work. Some people get success sooner, and you have to believe that it belongs to you, and you have to be there. You have to chase it.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful. So it's again another big life lesson. It's the journey. It's not the
it's a journey. it's
final
it's
product.
always the journey. And enjoy all mistakes you do, enjoy every project you do, every step you take, and that's going to give you strength.
Oh, that's
And that's what makes you experience it.
fantastic, fantastic. And why do you think there's a value to competitions? Do you see any reason for them? And obviously,
Value to what?
competitions, art competitions.
Competition. Yes, it's an opportunity to do better. It's when there's a competition, you put your best.
Ah,
If you just have to create a project, you are
yeah.
like, okay, I'm done. But when there is a competition, you are going to make sure you put your 100% in there and do better in it. Many of my students are already working on the competition, and they're like,
Yay!
not thinking, come on.
Okay, that's really
Absolutely.
fantastic. That's just fantastic. Maybe someday you will paint me sitting at Lord Krishna's feet, in the Kurukshetra. I
That would
often
be an
think I
honor.
could be Arjuna, right? Like all of us, all of us.
Yes,
So no,
yes,
beautiful, beautiful.
absolutely.
Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your thoughts. Thank you for taking the time. And thank you for being an art teacher who not only teaches her students art, but now is inspiring them to give back through the Indie Art competition. Thank
It's
you
a
so much.
pleasure.
It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. Thank you.
Mangalam Shubham. God bless you.
Thank you.